Hey guys, in this video, we're going to talk about the Redux and just overview of what it is, right? Why you should even care and how it really plays a role in the full stack applications that we've been building. All right, let's get started. All right, well, let's first get like a holistic overview. So Redux is like a predictable state container and it's shared. All right, when I say shared, each component has its own individual state when we were coding in React. And in Redux, what it does is it aggregates all of that state into one container. And it's called a store, all right? That store, plus some other things called middlewares, which we're going to talk about later on, is basically the Redux store, the shared state, all right? And this helps a lot with our clean code and efficiency, right? When there's a bunch of state all over the place, right? Manipulating it, changing it, it's just a big mess, and Redux is here to save the day, all right? So we need a way to manipulate the state, because then state wouldn't have any value, right? If you have a traffic light and you want to turn it from green to red, you need to manipulate it in some way, all right? So how are we going to do that in Redux? Well, there's two ways, right? Well, two ingredients that we're going to need, and they're both reducers and actions, right? So how are they interrelated? We're going to see right now. Okay, well, here's the diagram. All right, well, view is the screen that you see on your web applications or your mobile application, right? And basically every event that gets triggered, right? How I talked about the bird's eye view, same thing in your app. Every action that you can possibly take, right? We call that an action. And basically view triggers action. So if I'm clicking a button, or if I pressed the send button, things like that, that basically triggers an action, all right? And the action triggers the reducer, and the reducer manipulates the store, and the store tells the view, hey, I changed the state, and the view responds accordingly, right? And it's honestly not too similar or not too different from the traditional state, right? You have a view, you clicked a button, right? It goes to a function. The function changes the state by doing set state, and the view responds accordingly. So same thing here, right? Except since it's in a centralized location, we have to go through this formal flow of view, action, reducer, then store, all right? Okay, well, let's define the terms. What is an action? And the way you can, express this is basically the events that occur, right? So user input, triggering an update. This is an event, all right? And you can see in this right side that I have here, add to do action, right? Well, you can call this event to do added, right? You're adding a to do, all right? And that person's contents that he put in was buy milk in the input, all right? And this is the state's manipulation variable, all right? So how do we manipulate the state? The first step is by action, all right? And as I said before, actions trigger reducers, all right? Now, what is a reducer, all right? Well, at the end of the day, reducers are just functions, and they manipulate global state. And what they do is they take the input of a state and action, right? And based on the action, it returns a new state, right? So in that add to do action, what's it going to do? It's going to add a to do to the global state of to-dos. All right, so you can think of it like a function, state, comma, action outputs new state. Now, something, guys, I cannot emphasize more, all right, is that the reducer does not modify the state. All right, this is a very, very, very important concept. All right, the reducer returns immutable objects. So each time you're making a new object, you're not changing it each time. And some may say this is inefficient, but really Redux is just here, man, to save the day. So, you can criticize that, but it is what it is. All right, and root reducer, right? It's basically all the reducers, right? That's what the root reducer is, plus the middlewares. All right, and that combines to get your store. All right, now I know I did give a different definition here, but in a way, it is true, because the store is kind of every possible way that the state can change along with the state itself. All right. And here's an example of a reducer, all right? So what you're gonna do, you're gonna take the initial state equals initial state action, all right? And then we like to use a switch because, it should behave differently based on the action, right? So you have a case to-dos to added. What he's saying, return state with the spread operator, that just means spread it all out, kind of, all right? And then in the to-dos field, right, state.todos, and then add this new field, next to-do ID, text action on payload, completed false. All right, so basically the point that I really want to hit home is that based on the actions type, you manipulate the state accordingly. All right, and then you have a default, which is return state. Okay, so let's say we have a delete added, right? So in that case, we would actually do a filter, right? Not an spread and adding. Okay, so there we go. And there's 3 principles you have to adhere to when working with Redux. And that is the first, that the state is the single source of truth. All right, you need to make sure your state is clean and error-free, because that's how the app operates, through the state. The state is read-only. We're not, writing or manipulating the contents in any way. We're making a new state and adding each time. Well, we have one global state, but we're like making new objects each time. Okay, and changes are made with pure functions. All right, awesome. So to end it all off, I do want to go over some important APIs. Okay, the first one is called Redux Thunk. We're going to use this, so it's just important you have an overview or understanding of what it is. And basically what Redux Thunk does is it allows you to write action creators that return a function instead of an action, right? So you'll be able to work more with functions when trying to manipulate state. Apply middleware, right? I was talking about middlewares earlier. And middleware is just extending the Redux functionality. So if you want to add some cool functions that you found, or even some custom things, you're able to extend the Redux functionality. Okay, bind action creators. So it wraps each action creators to a dispatch call, so they may be invoked directly. We're going to use this, so it's very important you know that, right? When you see a dispatch, it's probably because they use the bind action creator call or method. Okay, and then we have connect, right? And that is how basically each component connects to the Redux store. All right. So, and we use connect in our export statements. So that it's very important to understand that Redux is working with the components and it's establishing a direct line by having that connect statement in there. All right, and I'm going to end it with this. All right, this is just Redux slideshow overview. We're actually going to get our hands dirty with this great, amazing framework in the next couple of videos. So thank you, and I'll see you next time.